All right, this video is going to be addressing the issue of the lawyers that are involved in this industry. So, again, this isn't to blast lawyers or the legal profession, but more as an overview of what to expect when dealing with a lawyer in this area. The way I relate the lawyers that are coming into this new, what I would call emerging legal practice, is that there's few firms that are taking it on, so those that are out there become somewhat specialized. So, as is the case with a lot of law firms that specialize in a certain area, they get to be somewhat transactional, almost like divorce lawyers. They've seen it, they know it, and so when you're dealing with them, you are going to simply go through the steps that they're very comfortable in doing, and then they offer their services and practice that way. Well, where you got to be careful is that, like every other profession, all lawyers are different. And I had said in a previous video that if you come across lawyers that are going to drag this out and tell you all the preliminary steps that have to be taken, you need to be careful, because if you're like me, you've got limited funds because you've already been fleeced by other groups up until this point. And so by the time you do get to the lawyer, you're pretty worn out financially. So the part that concerns me is that the lawyers with their ethics need to understand when they're dealing with a client that's in this emotional position that money really needs to be the primary focus before even signing an engagement letter. And let's go through that. So the process is you're going to first speak with several different law firms that specialize in this area, and then after you decide which firm is best for you, you're going to have that strategy after the selection process, which means they're going to give you a little bit more information other than the free consultation of what's really going to be included and what's going to be required and what you can expect to deal with throughout the process. Then ultimately you're going to get into a cost arrangement with the lawyer or law firm whereby you're going to execute some type of engagement letter. And in that engagement letter, you'll then move to what the retainer will cost and what, how they will bill against that retainer. Well, this is the part that you got to be very careful about, because like most legal professions, they work on a billable hour, so it is to their advantage to get through those retainers as quick as possible and to bill against them. And so you do want to stay on top of the invoicing with them as quick as possible. The problem I had, and I said it before, is you're already in a very vulnerable position. So when you're going through that interviewing process, you want them to be very specific of the time they think it's going to take. If you get, and I had mentioned this in previous videos, if you get the statements from that they just don't know, and they first have to determine how bad this is, they're probably not the right law firm for you. You need those that are going to move for a lawsuit as soon as possible in order to get RipOff Report and firms like them to remove your name. And most likely what will happen is no one's going to show up. So let's walk through that. So if your lawyer is now looking to go get a judgment as soon as possible from the court because there's nobody that's showing up to defend the other side, which is the most likely case, then you're actually dealing with the whole process of putting websites like RipOffReport.com on notice that the courts have determined they need to remove it, and then you're going to have to go through the process of petitioning Google, and then petitioning all the other internet service providers, and such as Microsoft and the like. Well, it's important you understand this right up front, because it's going to cost dearly when you start working with a law firm, and you have to be able to say you can or you cannot afford this. Okay, and in many cases you probably won't be able to afford it, but it's better to know that now coming in. Now, your only other alternative is, well, if you don't do this and the statute of limitations expires, because in most of these cases you have to do it 1 year from the time this information gets on ripoffreport.com type sites, or you lose your right to sue them, well, then you may have to hunker down and try to figure out a different strategy on how to go about this. This again brings us full circle back to what I'm petitioning everyone to do, which is, rather than spending your money on reputation repair firms and lawyers and these arbitration services that come off from ripoffreport.com, is your money not better served to try to petition Congress through a grassroots campaign to get these regulations put in place and to get the amendments put on this act so that this kind of stuff doesn't continue. And once again, this is why it takes a group. It takes everyone refusing to spend these legal fees and coming together with their funds to get the laws changed and regulation in place. I will once again put up the link for the GoFundMe account. I will once again put up my email address. And I once again ask you, as American citizens, don't sit back. Don't let this just happen. Start getting ahead of this, because one day it could happen to you or your family members. And then you're going to say, why didn't anybody do anything about this? Let's get active.